Okay, so for graphs, it's not really any different from the other questions that you're looking at. The only thing is, instead of giving you the equation, they're just plotting it on a graph. So instead of giving you like a hypothetical set of numbers, like what is y if x equals what, they're just showing it to you on a graph. So in this case, we have y equals f of x, which is the blue line. So I'm just going to assume that f, whatever this equation is represented by the blue line. And then my other graph, y equals g of x, so g, whatever equation that is represented by the green line. And then they're asking you to kind of find some various solutions for the y value given a value for x. So remember that whole f of x and whatever g of x or whatever of x, it's like what is the function of x? So it's basically saying like what's my value of y if I sub in a number here for x? So when the question is saying f plus g and then brackets -3, what it's really saying is what's the value for f plus g if my x value is -3. So remember, it's a function of your x. So whatever number you sub in for x is going to determine your y values at that point. So if I'm looking for f plus g, I first have to start with what's my x value. So remember, your x-axis is horizontal and your y-axis is the vertical. So when I'm looking at the x and I'm trying to find this point, -3, so we have here 0, I'm going to count backwards, 1, 2, 3. So this is -3. So at this point, -3, what's my value for f and g? Well, instead of giving an equation that you have to sub 3 into, instead they've given like a visual version of the equation and saying just find them by looking at the graph. So at -3, what's the value for the blue line? Well, I'm just going to trace up from -3 until I get to the blue line. So here at this point, what's my y value? If I trace over to this side, here it is, it's +4. So f is equal to 4. And then g at this point at -3, if I trace up to the green line, that takes me here, which if I follow that over to the y, that's +1. So 4 plus 1 is the same thing as saying f plus g, blue plus green, at -3. So my value at that point is 5. The opposite is f minus g, so we're just looking at the same exact points that we just found. Actually, no, sorry, when x is 0, so never mind. Spoke too soon there. I'll just erase that. And then at that point, now I'm looking at, okay, what's f minus g if x is 0? So this time I'm going to go to that point on my line, right at the intersection of the x and y is 0, 0. So at that point, what's my value for blue? What's my value for f? So I just trace up to the blue line. Okay, and that's 1, 2, 3. So f is 3. And then my g value at that point, so if I trace up to the green line, is here. So that's +4. So g is equal to 4. So f minus g is 3 minus 4. So at that point, it's -1. The last one, fg, so when we have two letters side by side, it's basically saying like we're multiplying them. So f times g, this time we're looking at when x is 3. So I'm going to find 1, 2, 3, and my blue value, if I trace up from that point, is +2. Okay, so 1, 2. So 2 times my g value, my green value at that point is +4. So 2 times 4 gives me 8. So you should get 5, -1, and 8.